Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast. My name's Neil C. Hughes, and today we're going to dive into the fascinating world of AI in recruitment. A technology that promises incredible efficiency, but also brings a few challenges, which you may have read on your news feeds. But our special guest today is none other than Alfons Strayak, and he's a formidable name in the tech industry with leadership roles under his belt at giants like Amazon, Microsoft, and currently serving as the Senior Director of Global Recruiting Technology and Experience at the Boston Consulting Group, or BCG for short. Now, Alfons is perfectly poised to provide deep insights today, especially considering the recent Samsung banning its employees from using ChatGPT on its company devices. The spotlight is back on safeguarding sensitive information, especially when leveraging things like AI in recruitment. So we've got a lot to unravel today around the complexities of integrating AI into recruitment in a responsible manner. And Alfons has got lots to share on this topic. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Montana, where Alfons is waiting to speak with us today. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. I can try. My name is Alfons Strayak, and I'm a Senior Director for Recruiting Technology at BCG, Boston Consulting Group. So in that role, I basically oversee the whole technology stack that we use for recruiting, starting at the candidate website, where candidates find jobs, all the way through the CRM, the ATS, through which we select candidates and extend offers to the ones that are good matches for our jobs.
And there's so much to unpack there because I've been reading about you, seen you've spent time at Amazon, Microsoft, Boston Consulting Group. You're talking to me in Montana today. So can you share your origin story and maybe a few lessons you've learned along the way from your professional journey, including that time at Amazon, Microsoft, and obviously now Boston Consulting Group?
Sounds good. My origin story, so it's been a while. I've been around the block for a while. I started off way back at Microsoft in product marketing because I was always excited about technology. I love playing with technology. I grew up with PCs, like I'm kind of that generation where PCs just became a thing when I was a kid. And very quickly at Microsoft, I realized that I love technology, but it was boring to talk about technology that somebody else has built. So I wanted to get into product management, into product development. And that's what I did from there on. So I moved from Microsoft Germany to a corporation. I had various roles within product management and program management. And I discovered two passions, really. One passion was for product and building things that make people more efficient, like things that help people be more effective at what they're doing. I worked in Exchange and in SharePoint and did a lot of collaboration and productivity solutions there. The other thing I discovered becoming a manager was that I really liked helping people develop and coaching people and help them find their next opportunity and grow into their next opportunity. So I always had those two things that gave me passion. And I was with Microsoft for 17 years. After a while, I was like, okay, maybe let's try something else. So I moved to Amazon. And at Amazon, I had the opportunity to be head of product for recruiting technology. And that was really a big aha moment for me because I found that that actually marries those two passions. It really provides that intersection of you need to work on technologies and think about how you can make people more effective, candidates as well as recruiters. But it's also at the core all about helping people find their next opportunity and getting to the next step. So for me, it's a super, super exciting space because it really helps the candidates through technology.
Gotta say, I absolutely love that because I think there's a lot on our news feeds at the moment around technology replacing jobs, replacing people. And yeah, I always say on this podcast, technology works best when it brings people together. And I love your ethos in the workplace here because it's not just about the technology, it's technology and people, isn't it? It's so important.
Yeah. And I think if we look at the development of technology and industries, I don't think technology ever truly replaces people. It changes what people do and how they do it and the quality of outcomes they have. Like just look at the good old typewriter versus word processor. We don't have fewer people creating letters. Our letters just look much, much better and much more effective. So technology doesn't replace people. It helps people be better at what they're doing. And even if we look at super like super cutting edge technologies like AI, it's not going to replace people. It's helping people to be better at what they're doing and more effective and getting to the core quicker, and then have the ability and have the bandwidth to spend time on what they should actually be doing rather than less interesting stuff where they don't provide as much added value.
100% with you. And I love what you said a few moments as well about using technology to help people find that next opportunity. And you do have a significant experience in using advanced tech solutions in the field of recruitment. So can I ask you share some of the technologies or how you've seen these technologies evolve over the years? And dare I ask where you see them heading in the future?
If only we had that crystal ball.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing from the data we're having right now and from the things I saw in the past is we clearly have that trend where technology is helping more and more in recruiting as it is in all other areas of life. And really, if you look back in the beginning, recruiting technology wasn't that helpful at all. All it really did was replace a paper process with a digital process. But recruiters were still doing the same thing. They were still doing it manually. They were still doing all the same steps and process flows. Then I think the second stage came, and recruiting technology is interesting because in a way it's catching up with what we've seen in other parts of the industry for quite a while. And the second step really was automation, still looking at the same processes, but figuring out where you really need a human to advance to the next step, versus you can just build some algorithm, some heuristic to get there. And that was a huge help for recruiters because it freed up their time and it removed some of those really non-value added steps that they were doing. What we're seeing right now is AI. And AI, in my mind, the big thing about it, the big change is not that it removes steps as automation did, but that it helps us to manage information overload. We're drowning in information. Recruiters are drowning information in information. Candidates are drowning in information. Recruiters get thousands of applications for a job. They have no way of manually going through all of those and really making good decisions and then really taking into account the full candidate profile. AI can do that. AI has the capacity. And similar for candidates, they, especially with hybrid work and remote work, they have access to thousands of jobs they might be qualified for. They need to find them. They need to figure out which ones to apply for. They need to figure out where they have a good match. So it really is that drowning in information. And that's where AI can come in and where AI can look at all the candidates and the full data set of a candidate, all the attributes they bring in, and help recruiters and help candidates make decisions. I think that's the big change and the big difference we're seeing right now. And where I think it will go and where I think it needs to go is right now AI still helps us find answers to the questions we're asking. I'm looking for a product manager who has probably 25 years of experience, blah, blah, blah. What AI can do and will do in the future is it will be much better at predicting not just whether somebody might be successful in an interview and get a job offer, but predicting if somebody might be a good cultural fit for the company in the future, might predict whether somebody might perform well on the job in the future, independent on whatever was written in the job description. So going beyond does that candidate fit what we said we're looking for, towards what is actually a successful profile in that company, in that role, and will the candidates likely be successful there? And that predictability of quality of hire, I think that's the holy grail.
Yeah, 100% with you. And it's funny, before you answer that, and you said if only we had a crystal ball. And I remember November last year, all the futurists and technologists were all predicting the tech trends that would dominate 2023. And nobody predicted Gen AI or ChatGPT would have the impact that it did. And here we are now, only 4 months away from 2024. And recent incidents such as Samsung banning its employees from using ChatGPT on company devices after that data leak. I mean, how should companies navigate that delicate balance between leveraging AI for things like recruitment and also ensuring data security?
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I totally agree. Yeah, ChatGPT came like an avalanche on us, like nobody saw that coming, and it grew so quickly and changed so much in such a short time. I think there are several things to it. First of all, I think AI is not something that can be done somewhere down in a department or every department dabbling in it on their own. I think it needs to be on the CEO agenda. And I think it needs to be managed in a strategic way, top down. You need to understand what you want to use AI for, and you need to understand what you do not want to use AI for. You need to put governance and policies in place so that your employees know exactly the boundaries that you're setting for AI. You need to vet your vendors. You need to have vendor audits. You need to make sure that the solutions that you're considering to bring in follow responsible AI principles, for example. AI can do huge improvements to your business, but it can also do a lot of damage and a lot of harm if you do it wrong. And I think last but not least, employee education is super important. Today, like you look at the ChatGPT user numbers, today everyone is using AI, but not everyone is educated on AI, and really helping employees to understand critical topics in AI. Bias. AI can have bias. You need to make sure that the solutions that you have bias controls, have bias audits, are really building off a proper training set so that you get the right bias-free results. You need to make sure that employees understand the potential issues of intellectual property, that they also understand the boundaries of AI. Generative AI is a great example. It can create content for you, but you want to make sure that you're not just trusting that content, but you take it as an input because you want to make sure you're not running into those hallucinations that happen every now and then. So employees really need to be trained up on what they can use AI for, but also what they need to look out and where the risks are. And similarly for AI in recruiting, we look at candidate matching, candidate scoring. Those AI-driven results are great inputs, but we always need to have the human behind who takes a super critical look, who takes those inputs as what they are, data points, and then make sure that there's a human decision. And that whole mindset, I think, really requires a top-down approach. It requires a CEO approach, starting with policies, governance, vendor audits, really understanding what the solutions do, all the way down to ensuring that employees have that same understanding and really understand the opportunities and the boundaries and risks of AI.
And I suspect so much of what you said will resonate with business leaders listening around the world. And another topic that I know is very close to your heart is the importance of having a responsible AI program. And I suspect, again, there'll be a lot of people listening starting to embark on down this path and trying to define what that responsible AI program should look like. So a question for you here, what should a program like this include? Why is it so crucial in today's recruitment landscape, do you think?
So some of the things we already talked about, governance, but I think two things I want to really double down is, one, as you look into vendor solutions or as you look into developing your own solutions, you really need to understand how those models are trained and what those models are doing that you're using in AI. So what's the data set that goes into the model? Is it large enough? Is it unbiased? Do you or does the vendor have bias controls on their AI? So really understanding and really making sure that AI doesn't add bias to your process and to your system, but rather reduces it. And what we're doing is with all our vendors, we're doing regular audits, and we're actually having them done by a third party to make sure that they're neither biased by us, by BCG, nor by the vendor. We have a third party coming in who looks at the vendors, who also looks at policies, security, data management that the vendor has in place to ensure that our data and the data we put into the models is properly managed. The second critical piece in my mind is that employee education that I mentioned before. Employees need to understand, for example, recruiting. If they get a score on a candidate, that score is just one perspective. It's just one input. It is driven by a data set. It is driven by an algorithm, by AI. It might discover many things that you didn't see as a recruiter because you just never looked at them in the past. But it might also be tilted in its results. So training employees that, yes, it is a tool. It helps you go through large data sets. It helps you widen your horizon and see more data points than you usually look at. But you still need to bring in the human element. You still need to bring in the human assessment and really take AI as what it is. It's an aid. It's not a decision maker.
So in your current role then as Senior Director of Global Recruiting Technology and Experience at BCG, what Is there anything you can share about what strategies that you're implementing to improve that candidate experience and also the application process through AI? I appreciate you probably can't share too much, but is there anything you can?
Yeah. I think there are a few things that I can share that at a high level. We're looking at AI for several areas to improve the experience. The first one, and then maybe the biggest one, is matching. And that is really helping candidates find the right job for them. So if candidates come to our career sites, not just giving them simple search, like I'm looking for a consultant in that location, but helping them find adjacent jobs as well. So maybe consultant is their job, maybe an internal job is a better match for the profile. Similarly, for recruiters, matching and finding opportunities, not just in the people or in the candidates who applied for a certain role, but also in all the people who talked to us before. Like maybe you applied for a job a year ago and for some reason it didn't work out, but this new job that I'm posting right now is the perfect match for you. I want to know that. I want to find you. I want to be able to have you match to that role. So matching is a big one for candidates as well as for recruiters. The second big one in my mind is adjacent skill sets. Today, or in the past, all the information a recruiter had was whatever you put on your resume. And your resume is 2 pages long. It's pretty limited. If you have like a 25-year career like I do, it's really hard to cram it all onto 2 pages. And AI can help bring in additional data sources, your LinkedIn profiles, similar profiles at similar companies, and help augment what you show on your resume with what you likely have as experiences as well. Things you might not have called out in your resume, but if you did product management for 25 years, you probably have a certain set of skill sets. And so AI can help bump your profile and enrich your profile with, hey, that person has been a product manager for a long time. He probably knows about stakeholder management. And so that's the second one, augmenting your skill set or augmenting your profile. The third one I would say is personalization. Again, there's so much data out there. There's so much information that might be interesting for you about BCG. Which pieces are the ones that are actually particularly interesting for you as a person with your profile? And so personalizing that experience, bringing up the right content for you, bringing up the right engagements for you. It's a big piece where AI can help because again, in my mind, what AI can do really well is look at huge data sets and pick out the few gems that are interesting for you. Last not least, of course, things like chatbots are also helping with the candidate experience. By now, they're kind of old technology, like they were the hype 2 years ago. Not so much anymore, but they're still a great addition to the candidate experience as you're looking for information. You probably don't want to call your recruiter all the time. You probably also don't want to search our web pages and find the content nuggets that you're looking for. But chatbots, again, can help you through the AI to really get to that point, to that document, to that answer that you were looking for.
And I would imagine a lot of what we're talking about is great news for HR. If I go back to my tech IT days, HR technology has got a bit of a reputation for being clunky over the years, but that is changing. So how should HR and recruitment teams approach the integration of AI solutions into their existing processes? Anything you can share around that?
Yeah, HR is changing dramatically, but that's what makes it so interesting to be in that space because there's so much opportunity, so much to cut up on, and so much technology that's available to us now. As always, in any technology, in any field, my biggest advice would be start with understanding what your problem is. Understand your problem and your opportunities. And the reason I'm saying that is because there are so many solutions that you could buy today, so many AI-driven solutions, and each of those solutions promises a better life to you. But you really need to understand what the problem is you need to solve, and then you need to find the right solution for that. And just to give an example, at Amazon, when I worked at Amazon, our problem was not to find candidates. We had thousands and tens of thousands of applications for a single engineering role. Our problem was to look at 1,000 resumes and find the one right person. And so the AI solutions that we needed for that were way different from problems that we're facing right now at BCG, where we need a very specialized expert who knows sustainable energy, for example. And we need to find that expert across the world. So instead of sifting through a lot of applications that we have, now is finding and sourcing the perfect right candidate, even if they might not be on a job hunt right now and then never apply for a job. that is now the problem. And those two require two very different types of AI solutions. So really understand your problem. Once you understand your problem and you understand what solution you need, understand the vendor. Because as everyone is selling AI, and maybe 20% of that is actually AI, the rest is pattern matching or heuristics. And so really understanding what the vendor does, what does the solution really provide, and what is the data set it's trained on. Because AI needs large data sets. And for example, it's not always super easy to find 1,000 or thousands of resumes of successful sustainable energy scientists. So how likely is it that your AI will really help you in that case? And so it's super important to understand that.
And I think over the last few years, we've all been on a roller coaster ride of sorts in the workplace, whether it be those tremendous highs and those big dips. So I've got to ask, what have been your biggest challenges and equally the rewards that you've encountered in using AI for recruitment?
Yep, absolutely. One of the challenges is what I just mentioned, like really getting bias-free data sets at the right scale. It's so exciting to build an AI solution to do scoring for you. And then when you want to train the model, you figure out, actually, I don't have enough resumes to really have a bias-free scoring. So it doesn't work for those roles that I wanted to use it for. It works for many, but not for all. So I think that's a big one. And it's the old IT saying garbage in, garbage out. So It's a big challenge to get the right data sets and really build those bias-free models based on those data sets. However, when you get it, you can do magical things. You can really create magical experiences for candidates and recruiters. And two of those that I had in the past one was with a very long and tedious application review process. It took for candidates, it took 2 weeks to get from the time when they submitted the application to when somebody contacted them for a phone screen. And that was just because it took a long time to go through the resumes and all of that. And we were able, for some specific jobs, to apply AI to that, to bring that down to milliseconds. Like you submit your application, and pretty much like before you can close the browser window, we would be ready to offer a phone screen interview to you. And we actually had to put some delays in to make the user experience not too jarring. So we would only send out those invites the next day. But just that change from, in a competitive market, candidates don't have to wait for 2 weeks, but hey, next day they get a phone screen offer. It was just magical. And I think the other one that I'm super proud of was we built some matching that helped candidates come in and say, hey, I'm this person, I have that experience. I think I might be interested in that job, but you tell me. And then we would give them five of the top matches. And very often they would discover jobs that they haven't thought about before because they hadn't heard about that department, or they had more flexibility in location than they thought. And so that again was magical because you come in and you, as a candidate, and you discover something that you weren't even aware of that it existed, and AI can help you with that.
Incredibly cool. So I suppose if we look towards the future, and AI inevitably becomes an integral part of that recruitment process we're talking about, for anyone listening around the world, what would be your key advice for any organization that are just starting to explore the possibilities of AI in recruitment? Any big advice that you'd like to leave everyone listening with?
Again, I'm going back to that again and again.
Yeah.
Start with the problem you need to solve. Then look into the vendor solutions, ask some tough questions to the vendors, how the technology actually works, and then start with a pilot. You can always only go that far in pre-planning. At some time you need to test, start with a pilot. Be very careful though that the pilot runs in parallel to your normal manual process, because even if you do the vendor assessment, you want to really understand if any bias comes into your system. You really want to understand what the AI is doing. So for a while, I would recommend to have a pilot that runs in parallel with the manual process where you can compare the results. Sometimes it can be quite eye-opening. We had those moments, and some of those solutions we had to shelve because they just didn't work and they just didn't produce the results we wanted. Once the pilot provides the results that you want to see, make sure you have governance in place, because if you let it loose in your organization, it will grow dramatically. Everyone will use it. It will be leveraged. So have your policies in place. Be clear as to what your guardrails are for using AI, and be clear that your employees are trained on that.
I think that's such an important moment to end on. But before I do let you go, we began our conversation talking about your origin story. What put you on this path? And now we've come full circle. I'm going to ask you to look back now and ask you to leave everyone listening with one final gift. And that is either a book that has inspired you or that you can recommend that we'll add to our Amazon wish list, or maybe the soundtrack to your career, maybe a song that we can add to our Spotify playlist. All I'm going to ask is, what would you like to leave everyone listening with and why?
I like it. The soundtrack to my career. I would like to think about that. I leave you with a book maybe, and it's very related to many of the answers I gave. And for me, it really provides a framework on how to think about things and influenced me a lot. And that's Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And you probably already have that on your list. It's super well known. But to me, it's always the crucial and critical piece. And maybe the one big thing I learned throughout my career: start with the why, don't start with the solution. Figure out what you need to solve first, and then figure out the path. And maybe to give you another book, so you don't have Simon Sinek again and again from everyone. I also like Working Backwards a lot from Colin Breyer and Bill Carr. And that really is a book that also starts, like, it's about how Amazon works and how Amazon thinks. And it also emphasizes the point of start with the outcome, with what you want the candidate, the user to experience, and then go down. And the same is true for recruiting technology and AI. Start with the problem you want to solve, start with the candidate experience you want to have, and then go down from there. So those two for me I keep them as reminders all the time. Don't get into solutioning too quickly. Start with the why, work backwards from the candidate experience.
Yeah, two great books. I will check our bookshelf and get them both added if they're not already on there. And it's so important now, I think, now more than ever, because almost all of us get distracted by that next big thing, that new tech shiny solution. We go tech first instead of the problem first. So completely echo everything you've just said. And for anyone listening wanting to dive a little bit deeper in anything we talked about today and find out more about some of the work you're doing at BCG, or contact you or your team, where would you like to point everyone listening?
I think there's several places that could help for this topic. One is careers.bcg.com. And that is because we publish a lot of posts there on how our process works, what we're doing. So it's a good overview on how recruiting works at BCG. The other one I would highly recommend is the link is too long, so I don't want to spell it out here, to Google for BCG and REI, Responsible AI. And that will give you some of the principles and approaches that we're using internally, as well as for customers that we're consulting. And just responsible AI is super, super important. I would urge everyone, before you think about what AI can do, think about responsible AI first. Think about what you need to control it for first. And for anything beyond that, find me on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active there. Always happy to connect to people.
Awesome. Well, I'll get the links added so people can find you nice and easy and everything you mentioned there. We've covered so much in a short amount of time today, from your origin story to the current landscape of Gen AI in recruitment and way teams can responsibly use AI solutions, and why it's important for companies to consider and protect candidate data as AI becomes a vital piece of the recruitment process. And you even had a chance to leave us with two cracking books as well. So just a big thank you for sharing your story today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun and important topics to talk about. Thank you so much.
Wow, what an incredibly enlightening conversation. A big thank you to Alfons for shedding light on the nuanced world of generative AI in recruitment. And as we've discussed today, while AI can be a big game changer for HR and recruitment teams, I think it's imperative to strike that right balance, ensure the security and privacy of every candidate's information. And Alfons' 2 decades of experience has certainly given me invaluable insights into the strategy, governance and processes that are all essential in navigating this ever-evolving landscape. But for everyone listening, this is a big topic. Is this something that you're about to embark on? Does it excite you? Do you find it challenging, overwhelming? Whatever it is, please, I want you to share your story with me. So email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilC.Hughes. And I think as technology continues to shape the future, there's a huge responsibility on each and every one of us to use it responsibly and ethically. Finally, before I sign off, remember, it's not just about what technology can do, but what it should do. So as always, send me a message, let me know your thoughts, and if you want to stay ahead of the curve, we'll catch you again bright and early tomorrow where we'll explore another topic. But more than anything, just thank you for listening today, and until next time, don't be a stranger.